Hi, it's Carlson here. When it comes to horror movies, Universal's House of Monsters is certainly one of the most legendary. With their Universal Classic Monsters series, they even gave the world its first ever cinematic universe. There have been several releases of Universal Monsters films in Blu-ray and 4K, although the 4K releases haven't really gotten into any of the deeper titles until now. We're getting what I hope is going to be the first in a series of releases from the Monsters. This is the Dracula 4K Complete Legacy Collection. I'm going to unbox this release and share my opinions. Nice close-up there of Count Dracula. Spine text. Back cover. This has a list of the films that are included. Dracula, Dracula's Daughter, Son of Dracula, House of Dracula, House of Frankenstein, Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, and it also includes the 1931 Spanish Dracula as well. More on that in a minute. Art under the slipcover, largely the same. We get a digital code here. Again, don't try that, I've already used it. On the back, we have the credit information for the films. Disc 1 features Dracula, the original 1931 film, as well as the 1931 Spanish film. Disc 2 includes Dracula's Daughter and Son of Dracula. Disc 3 features the crossover films House of Frankenstein and House of Dracula. And Disc 4 features Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. This release does not include Blu-ray copies of the films, so any images you see in this video were either taken from earlier Blu-ray discs or random Google searches and screen cap libraries online. They are not 4K screen caps and do not represent the quality of this release. The original Dracula is one of the silver screen's most unforgettable characters and, along with the other Universal Classic Monsters, defined the Hollywood horror genre. Dracula Complete Legacy Collection includes all 6 films from the original legacy, including the frightening classic starring Bela Lugosi and the timeless films that follow. These landmark motion pictures define the iconic look of the famed vampire and continue to inspire countless remakes and adaptations that strengthen the legacy of Dracula to this day. Back in the day, these Universal Monsters films certainly made an impact. They stand the test of time as some of the true classics of the horror genre. This set starts out with the original 1931 Dracula, which stars Bela Lugosi as the Count, arguably the most famous man to ever wear the cape. And in the film, he comes to England to begin feasting on the blood of the people in London, of course bringing some soil from his native land so that he can return to his coffin every night. And it's up to Professor Van Helsing, played by Edward Van Sloan, to do what's necessary to put the Count permanently to rest, or so he thinks. This package also includes the 1931 Spanish Dracula, which was a movie shot by a Spanish-speaking crew on the same sets, which actually did change a few things, including making the film longer and making changes to a few scenes. I won't get into any major details or spoilers here, but don't overlook the Spanish version. It's actually well worth watching at least once. I know there's some people that actually prefer that version of the film. Next up, we have Dracula's Daughter, where a woman who is the daughter of Count Dracula shows up in a modern city investigating what happened with her father and wanting to break free alongside her servant Sander. But it's not long before, of course, everything begins going horribly wrong. This movie is infamous, of course, for its supposed lesbian overtones. Again, I'm not going to get too into that here, but it's an interesting thought. The only returning cast member from the first film is Edward Van Sloan as Van Helsing, although his character's name is changed to Von Helsing in this film for some inexplicable reason. The movie series continues with Son of Dracula, in which Alucard, Dracula's son, comes to the American South, portrayed by Lon Chaney Jr., and he begins hypnotizing people and wreaking his own brand of havoc. This is something of an underrated entry in the series, and one that I think really deserves an additional look. Don't write this one off as one of those pretty basic generic sequels, because there is a lot to like about Son of Dracula. And then we get the 2 crossover films, House of Frankenstein and House of Dracula. This is where the whole cinematic universe thing really comes into play, and you have the various monsters crossing over. The Wolfman, portrayed by Lon Chaney Jr., appears in these films as well as the subsequent Abbott and Costello film, he being the only actor that ever actually portrayed the Wolfman in the other series, whereas a lot of the other monsters had been portrayed by multiple actors. In these 2 films, John Carradine plays Count Dracula, and Glenn Strange portrays Frankenstein's monster. And the cinematic universe films where there's the crossovers here, they certainly have their highlights, but they really have a hard time juggling and balancing the characters. I mean, for most of the two films, the Frankenstein monster just lies dormant, either in an iceberg or on a table. And Dracula is barely in these movies at all. I mean, House of Frankenstein, he's written out of the film less than 30 minutes in, and then he gets almost as little to do in House of Dracula, being relegated to more of a supporting role despite the title. And the final film in this set is Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. This was one of the few Abbott and Costello monster crossover films they did. Many of the actors actually reprised their roles as the monsters here, including Lon Chaney as the Wolfman, Glenn Strange as the monster, Bela Lugosi in his second and final performance as Dracula. And here you get to see Bud Abbott and Lou Costello just cutting loose. Crossing over with the monsters kind of seemed gimmicky at first, but this movie is actually quite funny, and it really does give us the best of both worlds, and the comedy crossover surprisingly works. Again, I really do hope Universal gives us more of these collections, because I'd like to see more of the less revered films in the series start to get the 4K treatment here. And I'm really happy to say that every disc in this collection looks absolutely fantastic. Whoever went back and restored and remastered these did a bang-up job. I'm willing to bet that the 1931 Dracula is the same disc that was released before, and that's not a bad thing. And then the other films, of course, are presented on their own discs, although Dracula's Daughter and Son of Dracula share a disc, and then House of Frankenstein and House of Dracula share a disc. Even the follow-up sequel films look just as good, which is really surprising, and I mean that in the best of ways. I mean, it's clear there's been no noise reduction here. The films do look a bit soft, and some of the effect shots haven't aged the best, but I'm glad to see they look that way without any unwanted digital tinkering and the like. Most of the films only have a theatrical trailer as a bonus feature, but Dracula has all of its earlier supplements, including some Universal Studios fluff pieces, as well as things like an alternate musical score, commentary tracks, a few documentaries. And then Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein has some documentaries and other features as well. So it is a pretty well-rounded package for the most part. A lot of these films I didn't think would ever actually get on 4K, so the release is a pleasant surprise in all the best of ways. This Dracula Legacy Collection comes very highly recommended, and again, I do hope we get collections like this for the other Universal monsters. How about you? Are you a fan of the Universal Classic Monsters? What do you think of the Dracula films? What's your favorite Dracula movie Universal put out? Who's your favorite actor to play Dracula? Comment down below and let me know what you think. Also, remember to subscribe to this channel for more content. To always post new videos, and make sure to give this one a like if you found it helpful. I'm Timothy Carlson. See you next time.